Where? Take it away, Bree.
Well, we have to start with the roll call, like the formal things, flex the vote. So check this agenda real quick, so everybody has it.
Let's do that. And then we'll flex it. They're coming around.
It's gonna jump right in.
Oh.
Yeah.
You're the chair of this. Oh, hello. Yeah. Thanks for that. Okay, bang, bang. Yeah. Do the class, please.
Right.
Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so I guess we move on to roll call. Yep.
So if we just want, we could just go around and say who you are.
Yeah, actually, I have a welcome slide we can use for that. I think this would work.
Awesome.
Be fitting. So
Let's see, I guess I'll start off since I'm, I guess, committee chair. Eric Osborne, member of the school board, and I chose this committee because it was
assigned to.
the best out of the choices. Okay,
It is the best of the choices.
Absolutely, had the coolest people in it. I'm Kelsey Slick and also on the board and married to Sean at the high school and then have 3 kiddos throughout the district.
I'm Amanda Groves, math teacher. At what school? Right now, Grizzly Mountain.
Okay.
oh, I guess I didn't say that either. I have kids at Barnes Butte and middle school, there we go.
I was at the high school 10 years and at the middle school for a couple of years. And then I have 3 little ones that are in the district.
Christy Jackson, Barnesview, special education. I'm Ashley Hopkins, I teach ELD at Barnesview.
You teach what?
ELD, English Language Development.
I am Kimberly Bonner, the principal at Hoover Elementary, and I chose this committee because academic excellence matters to me.
Peace. I'm Tammy Parker, the executive assistant to the superintendent and school board, and I'm just here taking the minutes from the meeting tonight.
I'm Brigham Ruckel. I'm the director of school improvement, and academic excellence is like my job. I'm all about this committee, so I'm really excited for our conversations we'll have tonight.
Joel Hoff, interim superintendent. Man, I actually really, it's funny, I don't get to do it as much as I used to, but I love digging into academic data and looking at how we can improve academics. So I'm genuinely excited about this kind of work.
Eric's here. Eric?
I'm Eric Ryan, tech director, and I'm just running tech. But I have 2 kids at Crooked River, and I am also big on academic excellence. I just won't be involved in the conversation.
Awesome. So before we dive in, we really do want this committee to be all about discussion. So please feel free to chime in, ask questions. Joel and I want to do the least amount of talking in this. We want this to be a collaborative discussion between everyone here. And we really, really appreciate you taking the time out of busy schedules to make this a priority for our school district, because as we all know, it's very important to our students. So thank you, thank you, thank you. So where these committees, so this is the first of the 3 committees, right, that are directly driven by the board goals. So of those goals, the first bucket is this academic excellence. And within those goals, it's paired into academic excellence, opportunities, and then support. So today we'll be pulling 2 specific goals from each of those 3 areas to kind of go through and unpack and ask some questions about and look at some data around that. Joel, anything to add on those points?
No, I just would want to emphasize, Bree and I looked at this presentation yesterday and completely redid it. So we're like, we don't want to the whole point of the committee is like have it be more of a work session, getting involved, kind of digging in, where at board meetings, it's more of really high level. So we really wanted to have an opportunity to hear from you guys of like, what are our ideas for improvement so that we can really start running on that. So
yeah,
that's the plan.
And so often the problem solving that can come out of these committees are things that Joel and I spend all this time looking at this data, and then a fresh set of eyes and a different perspective can really drive our district in a different direction in small ways. And so we really appreciate that. Oh, there we go. Okay, so the first 2 goals within academic excellence that we'll be looking at is goal 1.1, and this is to me, this is one of the biggest goals of all the board goals. It's increased student achievement in reading, writing, math, science, and social studies as measured by nationally normed assessments. So I'll give you some data around that in just a moment. And then the second one is to close the achievement gap for boys and girls in key areas by using assessment data and key indicators to guide targeted interventions. So as we talk through the questions that we'll have today, these are those are the goals that are grounding our conversations. So exciting news today. The ODE released the school report cards. So I have our district report card here. I'll pass it around. Please just take a second to look over that data and start thinking about it. And if you are a tech person, brought your computer, I made a tiny URL for a really fun, I love that the ODE has done this. They've made an online report card, which takes us out of it makes our data visible. And you can play with it. So you can add on, you can change the years, you can look at assessment, performance, and participation, English language arts. Okay, I want to dig into different demographics. You can change them here. So I encourage you that you think about your data in your different roles within the district to use this as a tool. If you want to look at it today, by all means, go for it. Or the school report card also has really high level, valuable insight to take a peek at. And as you're looking at it, feel free to just notice some things that stick out to you or questions you might have and jot those down.
Do you have this broken down, since one of the goals is around the data for boys and girls? Do we have that?
Mhm. Yes,
Like the comparison?
the data dashboard that we'll present in January, I believe it is, right, Joel, has that broken down by gender. And we can also pull it on here and look at it too.
And it's the bottom, down here at the bottom, is disaggregated by male and female. So you'll be able to compare there as well.
Just, for each of them. Okay, got it. Okay, thanks.
And then, on that online dashboard, we can go disaggregate the heck out of everything, so, that at least is kind of a start on the back. And there's some interesting ones as you look on the back, that some things males are leading and others are females are, it's just an interesting thing to.
It's interesting, the math one, because that's like historically, like when kiddos hit puberty, like female math tends to plummet, and maybe that makes me old, but
We're getting old.
It's been a big math.
You had some questions. Girls, just.
Any other questions that are coming up for people as they look at the data or ahas that they'd like to share? I'll share mine. I know that the goal is directly tied to those normed assessments, but I think our high school on track rate at 93% and then our on-time graduation rate at 96% is always really reassuring to me that like those systems are in place and working to accomplish that goal of getting our kids to graduate. So that's where my mind goes when I look at this data. Anybody else have?
I have all sorts of questions. One thing that I'm just super proud of and it's cool to see is that 7% increase in third grade English language arts, which is a huge jump. So I was gonna ask, as we've got elementary folks, and Kimberly, you taught about this as well, but from your guys' perspective, like what do you attribute that to, as we saw a pretty good growth in third grade reading?
Was this just over the last year?
Yeah, so it'd be 7% increase from last 23, 24 to 24, 25.
Yeah, so we threw a lot at third grade last year. Before last year, third grade did not have books in the classrooms. And with the addition of iReady and some leveled readers in the classroom, I think that that was a huge increase in, you know, teachers' ability to help guide reading and push those language arts scores. Also, you know, just the consistency with the writing and
Actually, I might be crazy, but let me just make sure I understood right. What do you mean we didn't have books in the class? Tell me, unpack that for me. I'm not an elementary person.
so like, second grade had the geodes books and some other leveled readers,
Yeah.
foundations. Third grade had foundations, but it did not have an accompanying book. So the only books that third grade had curriculum wise, at least at Barnes Butte, and I mean, I think this is true for everybody, was just the text that went along with the wit and wisdom.
Okay, just like the core curriculum.
Just the core curriculum
Not
text.
like
So there was
high
no
interest
leveled
readers.
reading.
Okay.
And so that was new
Good.
as of last year.
I would think there's a strong correlation
I would think
between
so.
giving kids books and helping them. Like, that's
And I
awesome.
think also the committee that helped, you know, put together the small group instruction, there was a lot of focus around that last year. And so I think getting all teachers the same resources so that everybody had access to these resources to teach the small group instruction for reading.
Awesome.
I think that's important.
Very cool.
We did not get the level readers at Crooked River. But we focused a lot on novel studies. We really tried to use some money to buy some novel sets and do some comprehension work and really focused on nonfiction articles and just fact finding with nonfiction. And then I think small group is just was a huge key to success.
I feel, I'm making sure my understanding is right, with magnetic reader, we've increased even more nonfiction.
Yeah.
Are you seeing good results out of that?
Yeah, I'm excited about it.
Really excited to see.
My third graders are coming home and listing out whale facts page after page, so.
That's a
Yeah.
good sign. Awesome.
Teachers are thrilled about magnetic reading.
Good.
Like I don't think I've felt as much positivity around a curriculum ever.
What would you attribute the positivity to?
It's just interesting. It's high interest for kids.
Yeah.
It's just short articles. It's like the resources we've been searching for so many years. It's like we finally found what we were looking for. Yeah, and Amber gets a lot of credit for that.
Yeah.
And that's actually a byproduct of iReady. So when you do analysis of your iReady data, it will give you tools. And one of the tools that it suggests is their magnetic reading. So we're like, wait, what is this tool of which you speak? And so now we have it, which is awesome. Yep.
So there's a difference between Crooked River and Barnes Butte, it sounded like.
Just the leveled readers.
Do we
That was
have,
something that Taylor jumped on with Dr. Skinner that we did not.
yeah, do we have the data school by school so that if we have differences, we can be like, well, which one is using
Yeah.
something different?
Yeah,
Crooked River scores are really great.
Yeah, we saw, Crooked River had some dramatic growth, really, really impressive. And then each school had little, like, I want to say science at Barnes Butte was actually higher than any of the other schools. So we're working with principals. We actually sat down with the Crooked River team
Monday,
Monday
yeah.
and went
That was
through.
Monday,
Yeah.
can you believe that?
You were joking.
No, I'm actually serious.
Yeah, so I think to your question, Eric, we do exactly that of,
Mhm.
hey, we're seeing, we call it a PLC, Professional Learning Committee, where you say, hey, Crooked River, you did great here. Let's dig into what you did. Hey, Barnes, you did great in science. Let's dig into that. So yeah, those are ongoing conversations.
And I think the work that's been done around the elementary literacy has created more cohesion across our schools and opportunities for those discussions and more similar systems. I think it's been really good for the students.
Okay, I hate to challenge this, but I do think we need to like just put on the table that there is a pretty big discrepancy around the gains that Crooked River has had in some of the other schools. And so I don't want to kind of brush over that. I think it's important.
Yeah.
Just purely from a logic perspective to keep going into that, like.
Yeah. We're planning, we actually had probably a 2-page note sheet of, we met with Kimberly once on our own and then, with some Kimberly's team. Just to, it's this diagram from good to great where it's like, what's in that black box that you guys did that shot your scores up? So, I think we're planning a board presentation on that.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to, it's kind of common sense to let's replicate what's working, you know?
But yeah, the reason I was asking about the different schools too is because I want to also see the different groups in the different schools. Because I know Barnesview has a heavy like second language group.
Yeah.
But the one that jumped out at me for improvement, and it's such a broad category, is the students with disabilities, because that could be anything.
Yeah, for sure.
And I just want to know, because some of those are going to be naturally challenged to achieve the scores you need for mathematics and English language arts. But that broad category
Yeah.
is so hard to nail down without, being specific with the kids, and then that's personal information.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I would imagine that is specifically talking about learning disabilities, though.
Is it?
Yeah, because the way we would track that, wouldn't it be based on their?
Students on IEPs, so, but I mean,
Yeah.
for example, you could have a student that just has a speech IEP versus a student that has like a cognitive disability, so those would be just grouped in as both IEPs.
But like you can have a student with a disability that does not impact their instruction at all. I don't. think
Yes.
I don't think they would
Exactly.
be part of that. I think it is like a learning.
We can look into what, I think there's 12 different IEP categories and what.
And if there was a way to get that parsed out more into different categories of the IEPs and see how each group is doing, if we could do that, we have enough kids in each group.
Yeah.
I'd like to see that as well.
No, you're absolutely right. It's such a broad.
So are
category.
you wanting the growth of the students with disabilities?
Yeah, and even just the different categories, because we could be doing really well with kids with like a speech disability versus something else, whether it's cognitive or ADHD, something like that. I just want to see where we're doing well and where we have room to improve.
I have a spreadsheet that I've been working on for a couple of years that I can show you when we're done here.
Awesome. That'd be really cool.
Yeah, I know. We've had 2 new people come into the committee, so if you guys could just introduce yourself and your role, I'd much appreciate that.
I'm Marilee Smith, the academic coach at Barnesview. I'm Ann Casperger, I'm assistant principal at CCHS.
Awesome, thank you. So we kind of covered the first question. The next question, I love asking people this, from your perspective, what are the most important things we can do to improve academic outcomes? So I think everyone has really unique experiences at this table and knows areas we can grow. How do you think we do that?
Well, I think it's important to find out where our holes are, our weaknesses are. Which I think in the last few years, we've done a much better job of analyzing that data. I'm feeling like teachers are becoming more interested in their own data and knowing how to access it. And we're spending more time targeting.
Go ahead.
You have maybe a couple examples on like, because I'm not a teacher at all, like maybe like where a teacher has used data or seen it and it's been like maybe like an aha moment or.
One of the examples I would give you is just with this new iReady program. We have so much data in front of us now that we can actually look at. And it will tell us where we need to spend more time with our students.
Has there been surprises?
Oh, yeah. But
Like what?
I mean, the biggest thing that we still are lacking in is nonfiction. That's what our data would show, and so, it's not really a surprise.
Yeah.
It's just like
Confirmation?
that's a good word.
Yes.
So
So
now we have more tools to
Yeah.
put in front of kids to fill those holes.
When you say non-fiction, are you talking about somebody's ability to read a text, understand it, have a response to it?
Answer specific questions about that, find evidence within the text to answer questions. That's a lot of what our kids have been presented with that we're getting better at, but it's a lot of, just like novels and, stories and fables. But
Yeah.
that's not real world and that's not what high stakes assessments really look at.
So on that third grade test that they're
Yeah.
assessing, so about 70% of the test is nonfiction. So it's read these articles and answer these questions and provide evidence. And only 30% are, hey, here's a story. What did this character do? Whereas in our core curriculum, which we use wit and wisdom at the elementary school, it's reversed. So it's total misalignment. So 70% of wit and wisdom is stories and those kind of questions, and only 30%. So that's that magnetic reader that we added last spring that fills this gap of, hey, here's a bunch of articles with questions that match kind of the similar rigor of the assessment. So that's been a big gap that we saw looking at our data, and we're trying to kind of piece it together. I think we've got 1 year left with our core curriculum, and we can do a whole new adoption. So it's really using the data to make sure that we're choosing the right curriculum.
Yeah, and I appreciate like even just that insight, because it's like even as a parent, it's so easy to let my own experience have a confirmation bias, because it's like I've raised these boys who want to read Home Depot electric like installation, and so like, they don't want the fables, and so, but it's like it's like I think that's where this data becomes so important, is it just makes it possible for us to read off the same sheet of music.
It's just a lot easier to find fiction resources for kids than it has been.
Yeah.
To find nonfiction, but wouldn't you guys say we've really amped that up?
That's cool.
Maria, another thing that my goal is not to talk, but I just like talking. So, and Kimberly, you mentioned, kind of the tracking students, and then the boards also talked about this. And I think of, historically, particularly at our elementary schools, we've had a ton of intervention for our red zone students, a lot of title supports, IA supports, pullouts. And then we've not neglected, but, you focus your resources on the highest need. But students right in the yellow zone, and then students in the green zone, we're looking now, I think it's a good priority for our district to say, what are our interventions, and then our enrichments for our high flying students, as well as those that are right on the bubble. So getting more intentional about how we're serving those students, I think, is a good direction for us to go in.
I thought it was powerful at the last in-service. We gave teachers, well, it was 3 years of the OSAS, but they could look, I can't even remember which report, I really just pushed buttons and we found it. But it showed there were certain areas we've missed the question for 3 years in a row. So teachers then took the time to dig into where's magnetic reading addressing that. And so just more time to do that work, because it's slow work, but it's really good work. And those were aha when they missed that area for 30 years, like.
I think it's important for board members to understand how crucial our academic coaches are at the elementary level. So it's Marley at Barnes, it's Sarah Schinkel at Crooked River, and then it's Michelle Gamble at Stevens Pillar. And those three come together and do so much work, and then sort of like lay out the next steps for teachers. So like what Marilee is talking about was, what she was just talking about, is very valuable time for teachers to spend, but it was prepared. That data was found by our coaches, so they really get in the weeds. I mean, they get in the roots.
It also speaks to the importance of like having a big PE schedule, which we always grappled with, to make sure that our teachers do have time to dig in this data, because honestly, I think it's like we can put things in front of them, but it's the ahas that they have that then they have the internal motivation to then act on it. Yeah.
That collaboration, I think, the work could you share a little bit of the work that you guys are doing around your data teams? I've used the wrong word just now, but
Data dives.
Data dives, that's what I was looking for.
So 4 times a year, we have teachers meet for 2 hours by grade level with all of the specialists. Academic coaches, title teachers, sped teachers, and we really look at just like benchmark data and then progress monitoring to see how our kids are doing. Then really finding out which kids are not making the progress and then really trying to analyze why are they not, what else can we do for them, what else do they need? And so we have been able to sort of change, like one outcome that came from our most recent data meetings, which were just the last 2 days. We thought we were sort of like giving our first graders a little bit of extra dose, and then looking at our data, they're not the group that needs it. They're actually surpassing, most of our kids are surpassing benchmark. And so we then said third grades are big, like, oh my goodness. So just by looking at the data and having everybody around the table, it's like, no, we need to spend more time with our third graders during this time. So that's just one small example. But we spent 2 hours just digging into. And teachers, like I said, have really done a good job now of keeping track of their own data. So they came to these data meetings already prepared to say, these kids are below their aim line. So I'm ready to talk about, like, I'm not going to spend the time during the data meetings figuring out which kids are. I'm ready to talk about exactly who kids are and now what can we do about it.
That makes my heart so happy. I like it.
It's really more like solving problems than admiring problems, I think, is the shift we're seeing.
Yeah, that's.
And encouraging them at these data meetings, we encourage them to come with multiple pieces of data because every piece of data is just one point. We want the whole child, all the pieces.
I think another thing new this year too is that we're progress monitoring all students and not just our red zone kids students. Progress monitoring.
Oh,
So we're assessing every month the students' abilities to read, and so it's not just those red zone kids that are being looked at. So it's really everybody now, and then being able to make shifts within small group instruction or title time to help address all of those needs.
And it's classroom teachers who are doing that work. So we started doing that last year as well. So classroom teachers progress monitor every single one of their kids. It doesn't matter if they're sped, it doesn't matter if they're title. In past practice, if they were sped or title, those are the people who were doing the progress monitoring and then saying, here you go, teacher, here's how your kids are doing. We've taken that back and said, no, teacher, you know how your kids are doing, because then in the moment, I know Anne needs a little bit more help. So I'm just giving her more doses all the time because I know in my head exactly what she needs. I think that's made a big difference.
Yeah, I think it speaks to our teachers as professionals and empowering them and supporting them. And then it also speaks to the individuality that we provide every single student in the school district that I just love. Let's kind of shift gears to talk about
Sorry,
what.
I just
Oh,
have
go,
one more
go.
thing, and you're gonna laugh when I say this, but I know a lot of this is like, and this is where teachers are just so special. It's like what you're talking earlier about that, like. Just that individualized, like, I know the student, I know they need that, and they're just making these micro adjustments all day, and that's just like the art and heart of teaching. But it's like, one question I would have is just like, and it sounds like maybe iReady does this, but it's like, where could we make this standardized like across the schools so that like we even maybe take some of this data pulling off of this teachers and lessen that. So to me, it's like the goal would be like 80% of this we could just pull as a regular data, and then it would free the teachers up to do that 20% of like, well, they might not have scored well, but I know this, about, like that nuance, like the human nuance of it. And so to me, that's just kind of a living question for us of like, where can we take that burden off and then make it like, so we can make this apples to apples.
Yeah, which makes a lot of sense. But I think the growth we're seeing is the power of analyzing the data.
Got it.
And the power of digging into it yourself.
Got
Because when we opened that up, where teachers were able to access their own data, they started caring so much about their own data.
Oh, that's
And they're having conversations about their own data. And it's actually like, that makes 100% sense. And the opposite we're finding to be true.
Thank you for pushing that.
And you showed me the other day where students are also engaging in their data, and that's really powerful.
Students are.
right?
Oh, that,
Making graphs about how they're reading.
that's
Yeah.
where that becomes even more thoughtful.
I think we do anything, any like technically, and you were talking about your academic coaches, how they're able to like at least pull different data. Like I think anything we can do to free up teachers' time to do the analysis or to dig in, I think is important. And we continue to look for those opportunities.
Yeah, any big barriers that we want to address? Or move on to the next topic.
And what are you thinking? We're pretty a light secondary, middle school, high school today.
You know, I think with the bullet point, your second bullet point, my two things were really at a 5,000 foot level of just attendance and engagement for high school kids, which is always an issue. But then when it comes down to, once you get them there, how do you actually make the outcomes? And it does go back to that data piece of it. I think that, I mean, I'm new in my role right now, but my experience in high school is it's hard to find time to dive into the data and really figure out how to use it to our kids' advantage. And so I think that's the hard part on our level, which is the time to do that. And it's not easy to break it into grade level. It's not because our kids are scattered throughout. And so being able to pull a group of teachers together to address students is a little bit more difficult just because they're spread out everywhere. They don't have to be in grade level classes. They, you know, and so that just makes it a little bit more difficult.
I will give a shout out to the freshmen on track team because we do have our freshman teachers really cohesively come together
They do.
and wrap around those kids as freshmen. And then from there, I think they still feel that support as they move up the grade levels, but that initial relationship and like monitoring of their success is really, we hit it hard with our freshmen and I love that.
I'm gonna tack on to yours because that's something I noticed on here and I've heard it repeated all over was the attendance. So the regular attenders, there's a correlation between all of them. Well, it's in the ever English learners for ELA, which makes sense, but their math scores in grade 8, same and correlates better with it. The one thing I was wondering is grade 3 and grade 8. Those are benchmarks for the state, right? Can we get grade 3 math? Can we get grade 8 ELA? And then compare.
We can get it all. Yeah. So those are, and that was just, those are metrics that, like you mentioned, like the state has identified as these are key indicators, of future success. But we have these broken down by school, grade level, demographic, and that's for that online dashboard that I'll share with you.
I know we've seen graphs of how they progressed. I like the graph progression.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's shift gears to the next one. So I want to make sure we hit on all these today. So the next area, which while we've spent a lot of time talking about elementary, now we shift a little bit more to secondary. Because our goals around opportunities for students. Board goal 1.7 is expand CTE programs and industry certifications through increased business partnerships. And goal 1.8 is increase advanced learning opportunities for K-12 students through improved access to AP, dual credit, higher level coursework, and expansion of the CCSD tag program. So what I'm gonna pass out now is a list of all the dual credit AP classes, some of those opportunities that we have for our high school students. And then also the CTE programs of study and certifications, the big certifications that we offer in high school, so we can kind of pick apart that a little bit. So when you get those, take a minute to look through them.
Yeah. Sometimes they have the first one. Yeah. You were stopping. Yep.
So as you're glancing at that, the first thing I want you to think about is what certifications would you like us to make sure that we're offering to ensure that students have opportunities post-graduation. So we want to make sure that students are heading into living wage jobs after high school, and we know that the certifications they get and that CT exploration that they have during high school is a huge part of that. So where are gaps in those lists that you're looking at? What questions do you have around certifications?
No, I think like we're doing with the course classes, and that'd be good to ask students. Like, I think they're serving students
Yeah,
soon,
right
right?
now.
And it might be good to throw a question on there, like, what are they wanting, you know? Because we've done, what was it, last year, 2 years ago, we went kind of like way overboard and just were getting a ton of certifications just to get certifications that maybe weren't as meaningful. So it's like looking at what jobs, you know, kids are going straight from high school to the career field, like what's actually a helpful certification, and asking them. Because I know there's, well, like, particularly in the trades, like welding, electric, and plumbing, like they can come out of high school and make a legit wage if they have those certifications. So just making sure we're aligned with that.
Would there be a way, just thinking out loud, to ask kids that are a few years out of college, like, what do you wish you could have?
Be awesome.
Because I feel like, I'm thinking of my own kids, they probably wouldn't have known what certification would have been helpful, but now a couple of years out, seeing what their friends are doing and all those things, they might have a better perspective.
Yeah, it'd be cool to track down, and it'd be hard, like, what's always hard is we always know staff kids, right? Like, I can get the Smiths, I can get the Warren. It's like, how do we get these kind of different connected? Maybe it's working with the high school staff and to be like, what? Because sometimes we just hear from a certain segment of the population, but I love the idea of getting
A lot of kids could tell you what their friends are doing, like which ones of them are linemen, which one of them are welders, which ones of them. You know,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think it's important to overlay student demand with where the job market demand is gonna be as well, because I think what you're hinting at is like, I mean, I was gonna be a veterinarian in high school and here I am, but and just our job market has gone through a massive shift, you know, like my LinkedIn feed is full of friends who have been laid off, who are highly educated, very talented individuals. And it's like we've seen a huge, and that's just been 6 months disruption. And so I think it's worth even like, and I could take this on to see if like getting some data around like the future of work and where the job market is good. Because especially right now, like the data is saying that, especially for like early career college people, it's like the worst job market since 2008. Like, so I just want to be really cognizant that it is student, but also like in touch with our world.
Yeah, giving them the reality of like what you're gonna expect. I love that. Such a good point.
Did you give yourself a task?
Yeah, I
All
did.
right.
Can I delegate it to Eric?
He is actually the chair.
Well, he did.
Delegate each other tasks.
Today, so I will pull data. The high school is on the front piece of forecasting for next school year. And so surveys actually just recently went out to all students, and included in that is, what are your favorite classes? Why? What do you wish you had opportunity to take at CCHS? And then the leadership group is also doing some empathy interviews with students, and some of those variations on those questions are included in those as well. So those are happening, actually just started those on Monday, so starting to get that.
If we have connections with COCC, it might be worth touching base with them as well, because those kids are usually the ones that are trying to find just employment through the college. Like, it's that intermediate level. And if they have a program that's in high demand or succeeding. Like I know. I have a friend that's a professor up in Pendleton that does specifically for data center stuff, maintenance, and he has a lot of kids that go through there to get certified just to work the data centers out there. If they've got programs like that that have high demand, it might be worth looking for certifications or something like that.
Yeah.
Sure.
And we had a meeting with COCC at the start of the school year, and so jump in and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but they were looking at some of their programs and kind of wanting to get feedback from us on like, what are your programs, so we can kind of be in lockstep with them. And that was really positive, and they are great partners for us, so we will keep going back to that table with them and making sure that they're looped in.
But ask them to overlay it like with their employment placement of the students, because they keep track of how many
Yeah.
students go on to be employed.
That's what I was kind of getting at, because that data center program that I
Yeah.
was talking about has high demand and the kids are doing well in it, at least now. The problem is forecasting the future with that, so.
Yeah.
What about, let's shift gears to the AP dual credit options. Where were gaps identified? What are your thoughts on that?
One of the things from a parent perspective that we're facing. Tucker graduated and went to EOU and finished in 3 years. They said, yep, we're taking all your credits. Aiden is having a very different experience at OSU. We're really glad you took that high level science class, that AP class. However, you need to take ours. So like, we'll take that as maybe an elective credit, but we're not gonna count that. So you probably know way more than I do, but I'm just like, wait. I want Aiden out in 3 years.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
you know, and that unfortunately is completely out of
yeah.
high school's
Am
control.
I right in saying
You are,
that?
you are 100% right. And what we tell students all the time is if you have a specific school or schools in mind that you think this is where I want to go, contact them, ask them questions. This is what I think I'm gonna take. This is what I'm, all the different things. What's your minimum AP score that I have to get to if I want credit at your institution? It varies greatly. Absolutely greatly. And so, I mean, it's really just reaching out to those individual institutions and saying, what do you accept and what don't you accept? And even with the transfers, so if you start at one school and they take, so if I would have started out at EOU and they take all these classes and I don't get a degree there, and then I transfer to OSU can say, oh, no, sorry, we don't take those. We'll take all of these. And so, and they can do that with EOU's grades as well, honestly.
Cause, correct me if I'm wrong, cause this is just conjecture, is like, my understanding is that sometimes it's just, especially with like the more science-based classes that are like less hesitant to take those than the language arts. Like, is that?
Less or more?
Less.
So
Like they're like more apt to do what your experience is like, if you're gonna get this degree in biology, we want it here. But if you got your writing done,
Yeah.
Great.
Yes, I think that's spot on. That's like one of the math and sciences that are.
Did they not accept the class that was like the transfer grade or like not an AP score, I'm guessing?
It can be both.
Yeah.
Okay, so
The
that,
team passed AP as well, and then it was like, still, if you're going the science route, you need to take our science classes. If you're going the math route, you need to take our math class.
I think that the two classes that are pretty universally accepted are writing 121, 122, and math 111, 112. Pretty much anywhere you go, they're gonna accept those. Everything else, even some of the literature classes that are, English or language arts, 214, that if I'm going into a literature-based field, they may not count those for core credit. They'll only count them for elective, versus if I'm going into a science field and I need an English credit, maybe they will count those towards my English credit and not, I won't have to take them as elective. And so it even varies just depending on what degree you're getting because we're the same exact credit.
we're going through the same thing with Emmanuel, who like is gonna go into finance, and they want him to have some of their finance, even though he did great at cricket or
would it matter what college the dual credit was through at the high school level?
No,
I
whether
think
it's
if you
like-
got it from Harvard or Yale, they're going to accept it.
Well.
But
Start offering.
but beyond that, no, I don't think it matters.
Okay.
Mhm.
And I also don't know that my kids knew that, or that I knew that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
So
that's the thing I think we started getting better at in the last, I wanna say 2 years of communicating that more. Of like, yeah, I mean, I started putting it as like a fine line on the bottom of every form I sent home about dual credits, because it was like. People have to know that it is up to the college, it's not up to us, all we can do is offer all the opportunities. And hope that it
Yeah.
works out. One of the things though that like, that we do have like that writing class, like writing math, there's a core block of classes.
Mhm.
That do transfer
They're
really
gonna go
well,
solid.
that are gonna cut down significantly on at least your first year of college. So I do feel really good about that. I'd like to shift to something that we used to spend a lot of time talking about was what AP classes we offered. So that list, we're planning to expand out to AP biology as well, because that was one we always got feedback on. Are there any other AP classes that you feel we're missing and should be offering?
Well, sorry,
Yeah.
just two
Yeah,
seconds.
go ahead.
Like, I think it's worth checking then, like, because if we've just identified that science classes are at risk of, like, I doubt you can go to Oregon State and say, take my biology and I want an animal science degree, like, and so I just think it's worth asking that question because the others, because I live with a school counselor, like, I also hear, these kiddos take this really hard class and it hurts their grade average, and then not only are they not getting the credit, they're also have a grade point average that has been diminished, and I think we need to be really honest with people around that.
The communication piece to parents, cause like, especially if you have your first kid going through this whole.
Yeah.
FAFSA and applying, like, it is a different world. So I think we can do and we do a good job, I think, of Sarai Swenson and the Future Center, but. The more we can do and the more we can communicate upfront is because I think a lot of parents just don't know what you don't know until you're in it.
I think we can put that on our communication checklist for our teachers, so that way when you get your syllabi for that class from your. AP physics or whatever, you're finding that information out at the forefront of the class would be really, really great.
Yeah, I would say my daughter's a junior, over there, and she is set on OIT doing the medical sonography program. And, I feel like she's had a lot of great communication from over there about all of that, like exactly what you're saying. She knows that not all credits are gonna transfer. The counselors have told her to contact OIT. Don't take this AP test because it's not worth your time, because it's not gonna transfer, like, they have really guided her, but this, like, you have to be a student that's like listening and paying attention right now, maybe Aiden.
Yeah.
Well. But like, he was a little bit ahead of her though, right? Like, he was a senior, she was a freshman. They're there's been some changes, I think, in a positive way, and so she's on it. Also, they had a junior parent information meeting. There were like 3 of us there. So, and they went over all of what you're saying, and like, not every credit will transfer, and maybe it's not worth taking this AP test for this thing, but this one will, and that kind of thing, but not a lot of parents there.
Yeah.
Staff at the high school, this is a lot of credit, because this is a huge growth area that I think we've gotten way better at. Then you get into the counseling team there, and it's hard because. That's a struggle of ours, is getting parents to show up places, because like the point you're making of. We give them the information, and then it's hard then you fast forward 5 years, like, we haven't heard this. It's like, well, we had 3 parents at the parent night. So
Right.
that's something I think we can work on as a district as we continue to try to expand how we get people to show up to things.
Yeah.
Oh, it's okay. I was in the same boat, like, I took AP tests and almost none of my credits transferred. But at the same time, I feel like I need to be optimistic here, and we need to be offering what we can. So I would say, besides AP biology, I would aim for other core credits that colleges typically look for. Like, that would be AP Spanish, some sort of foreign language. That would be something like AP Art History.
Mhm.
I'm trying to think of any others, but just like the generic courses that you typically go through for almost any kind of
AP
degree.
Psychology and AP Computer Science, those are two of the really popular ones that we don't have. When you look at like yeah.
Do we have a breakdown too of like, how many of our kiddos are like going to Oregon State versus U of O? Like, is it the majority end up?
I would say the majority end up at COCC initially, and then move on from there.
It's COCC and then it's your state schools and then like a scattering of different community colleges and different
Trade schools and
and
out of
all sorts of
state.
things.
Well,
We have
well, I'm
to do
just
that.
talking about like for the AP stuff, because it's like, if we knew 80% of our students, like, we could say Oregon State has this, U of O has this, COC, and it's like, we could probably do a lot more education specific to those schools
Yeah.
and inform the graphs. But it's like, oh, if you want to go state, then, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah, love that.
Question, if they took the AAOT versus the AP classes, don't all of the state schools accept the AAOT?
Yes,
So if,
it's an associate's of art transfer.
so
However, I think that there could be unique circumstances where just like if you transfer from EOU to OSU or whatever, like you were saying earlier, they could say, no, we need you to take these science classes from our university. That could still happen. I think. I don't have an actual scenario where I've seen it. So yeah, it's always kind of a risk, but
I've had it.
yeah.
My English, yeah. I took English like 3 times, yeah.
I had English too. I actually got. Okay, I want to move us to the last one here. Which is targeted support. So, and actually we've touched on a handful of these things, but I do want to provide some intentionality around these. So board goal 1.2 is strengthen student support at key grade level transitions, grades 3 to 4, 5 to 6, and 8 to 9. And then implement a K-12 tracking system to identify and support students performing at or below grade level. So this is just a sample. This isn't real student data. But Joel and I really care a lot about knowing who these yellow kids are, knowing who these red kids are, and making sure we know exactly how we are helping to move them into the green zone, because we want all of our students to be at grade level and above, and we believe we can do that. So some questions that I wanted to ask you guys are, what do you feel students need at those key grade level transitions? And particularly, what are those not being met currently? And then are there any big systematic improvements that you're like, boy, we really need to do this to get those students to perform at grade level? So I'll open those 2 questions up for the team.
No, go ahead. I mean, math is kind of my passion, so it's kind of like where like my eyes went when looking at all of the different scores. And so I only see what my kids do, like at their elementary school. So I think that math interventions would be cool to like see more of, even outside of the general ed classroom. So that, I don't know, I feel like there can always be more support in that area.
Yeah, we focused really heavily on literacy, and you know that, and it's worked, and we're moving forward, and bringing math alongside that is a very clear next step.
I think stamina, just building their stamina and grit. Eric, you said I was thinking about the kids taking these AP classes, college classes, and they didn't, like my boys, not everything they didn't accept, but it was higher rigor and stamina that helped prepare them
Yeah, that's a.
for being at college. So, it's kind of a side note, but just some stamina and grit.
I think that's really true. I mean, just even I tell kids, if you don't need a SAT score, sometimes it's worth taking the test just to have the practice of taking a high stakes time test. Like today, we gave the ASVAB test, and all of a sudden I look over and there's these girls all sitting together, like they'd moved their chairs together to sit together. And I go over and I'm like, I'm sorry, but you can't sit here. Well, why not? They said, So today, it's not a big deal. I get it, I mean, like, we're ASVAB testing, but if this would have been an SAT score, or if you would have been in a college test and you would have done this, you would have gotten an F and you would have been asked to leave. Are you kidding me? I'm not. You're like, I'm so sorry. I said, it's okay, but like, just those learning, those, putting them in situations where they learn what's gonna be there when they're going to that next step is huge.
And I think to that point, like, it's all the like, it's kind of like, and you mentioned this too, like the ability to know to like go talk to the counselor, you know, it's
Mhm.
like that live orienting
Mhm.
things. And I think one of the things that has made my heart so happy is seeing like when the older kids are taking care of the younger kids, and we've like just done so much more, but I feel like it's just mentorship, right? Like it's building up that leadership team, and it's like having, you know, as whoever being able to tell freshmen like, hey, have you done X, Y, and Z? You know, like even giving them a checklist, you know, like, you know, it's just like, it's just life.
Yeah.
And we all know it sucks to go to a new school. So if like, if you know, you at least have one person you can ask the dumb questions to.
This idea of like mentorship, because I think of like, it's so cool to see, you know, middle schoolers going to elementaries and a lot of good. And then I also think of like, this is a weird idea, but like, we could have like parent mentorship of like someone who just had a kid graduate, you know, of like you taking on Kelsey of like, hey, here's what we learned. Here are the 5 things to know. Not, there's 2 Kelseys, because you have a junior, right?
Yeah.
And you have a 6th grader.
Yeah, but I still need help.
You still.
I
You can mentor both Kelseys.
My kids are all grown and I still need help.
But
Like a support group or.
I think whatever those key transitions are for both parents and students and parents of like trying to get, if the district can kind of step in and fill that gap of like, hey, here's 3 things you need to know, like 3 things I wish I knew going into raising a middle schooler or sending a kid off to the college, like that would be really cool to set up.
Or even the grit piece of like, you can do this. I know you think you can, but
Students, Anna and I were in a classroom yesterday, actually. I think that was yesterday. Right?
So too.
And the students were talking about how that's how they would like to problem things within the high school is by creating like a mentorship system for upperclassmen and lowerclassmen. I think everyone wants that connection and support, so make it happen, right? Any final thoughts on this before I go to our closing slide?
Parent mentorship thing.
Love that.
Is there a way do we know any ways to increase parent engagement? Because I think that might, besides regular attendance, parent engagement probably is a big factor.
I mean, do we just put it at Wild Ride and make it a fight night and be like, here? I mean, I'm not kidding. Like, here's a table if you want to talk about this. Here's a table if you want to talk about this. Like,
You might need to spread it out like a horseshoe with water. There's different demographics.
We can both be newer board members, this idea. But yes, I love the idea.
Eric, I love the idea.
I think parents need and want to see more data.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like you've got your teachers engaged, you know, at Cricket River, if they're diving into the data. I think if that kind of goes with like the building bridges, but if parents have a chance to like examine their students' data more than just at conference times, then I think that there could be more buy-in to see that there are things that they could do at home to support, or what else can, you know, we do, or what else do we need?
I have fantastic information on this that is like 15 minutes old. Eric and I were meeting earlier and he's working on a parent portal, right?
Yeah, so we're, sorry to just jump in, but we're kind of in the really early stages. So ClassLink is the primary tool that at least our K-5 students are accessing every day. And so we're looking at creating a parent portal into ClassLink where the parent can get in, can see both their kids, and then we can basically deliver things to parents through that. So in ClassLink, you can jump into Parent View, you can jump into Parent Square, you can see usage of your student, of your kiddos within their ClassLink programs. And then you can even, like, then at home, kids can access ClassLink for typingclub.com or academics or these different tools that they would have available to them, free resources, or, even potentially iReady, things like that. So it's really early in the development process. I'm the guinea pig in it right now. But we're working on kind of building that out as like a one-stop shop for parents to go to access resources, and we can deliver. It's conceivable that you could deliver data to them. I would agree with the idea of like seeing your kids' iReady scores 3 times a year at parent-teacher conferences. We live in a digital world. We should be able to deliver and make that available digitally at any time they want to refer to it.
And even like,
Support it, so.
like progress monitoring, like knowing like, not just between these 2 diagnostics, but like, this could have been a bad day, or like, you know what's going on with your kid, but there's more than one story.
I used to do middle school, the transition from elementary to middle, like being able to see the grades and each assignment that gets submitted is big.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
my middle schooler is all about it, and it's very different going into it and seeing, oh, you have an A or a B or versus nothing for K through 5.
So I come from Redmond, and there we had to in elementary school, keep our Synergy grade book up. And it was live on Parent View.
How teachers deal with that?
We just thought we
You
were
did.
required to do it, so that's what you did. Like, I've never known anything different than that. So when I came here and I was like, I don't have to keep up a grade book and send it, like, how do the parents know what the grades are when the kids can't get their tests home? You know, because they lose things on the bus and everywhere. And so, I do notice a difference in, like, a huge difference in that accountability. And there were parents that we were training from young grades to like check Parent View, see what their scores are. And so when the kids got to middle school, because I was a 3rd grade teacher there, we were really getting 3rd grade parents on board. And by the time they got to middle school, parents were pretty well trained to check Parent View really regularly. And it's been
Conversation about.
Yeah, so I think this was last year, and we've been going through a few things. I think last year Carrie was working on piloting it with 5th graders, so
We're
maybe.
gonna pilot it 4-5.
I think it would be, being a 5th grade teacher now, I think it would be
So let's
awesome.
do that as an act, and because it kind of all circles back to like parent engagement and like.
Yeah.
We want to inform, like, our parents can be our best partners in educating kids.
Yeah.
Let's give them the information so that they can help us, you know, and help their kids. So I'm all.
I mean,
for
you
that.
can get them, because you can get so many parents into elementary school conferences versus middle school. So if you are sitting in an elementary conference with a 3rd grade parent and you're like, this is your future for middle school and high school, get on board with us. You know, then you can start training them
Well, it
for
makes a
6th grade.
big difference too, because there's a couple of things with kids' math that I'm like, what's the story here? And it's like, turns out he didn't understand the concept. I'm like, okay, well, let's address it here and now. And if I didn't have that visibility into this particular unit, it didn't go so hot. And it was like such easy little things, and it's 6th grade boy, you just want to deal with it. So like that, it just like that ability to intervene quickly when
Yes.
it's like low stakes is so powerful.
That's good stuff.
Yeah, I do want to say one thing, someone mentioned small group pullout. So the best way to support small pullout groups is the instructional assistants who are working with those kids. They need to be taught the curriculum prior to being handed it.
Yeah.
And that happens every day. An instructional assistant is told, here, you're gonna go teach this group. They're not taught the curriculum.
Yeah,
They're given it that day and told to go teach it.
yeah.
And it's being set up for that's not being set up for success.
We've set all this money aside to pay for extra training for classified, so that's on the radar, because we're not leveraging those staff fully if they don't know what they're doing. So that's.
And I think as we talk more about that, because this is a problem that's been years, I think it needs to be. They need to be alongside teachers, not like, let's train them. No, let's train them. Like, they're the most important teachers in our building if we want to tell the truth. So I think we need to think about that.
This may not be as critical either, but do you think that would be good for parent volunteers to get instructional material beforehand as well? Because I know a couple of parents that volunteer for those small groups too.
If the parents are gonna come in and actually work with the curriculum, and I know there's some parents that come in and they help with like certain assignments, but if they're
Yeah.
actually coming in to work hands-on with the curriculum, it'd be a great idea for them to learn it beforehand, because it's the same thing. Here you go, now go teach it. You don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's not fair for you, it's not fair for the students, and it doesn't help either party.
This is not, it's not as big a deal for, my wife goes in for the math for the fourth grade. But it's usually like the advanced group that kind of teaches themselves.
Mhm.
I'm not sure if that's as applicable, but. As I don't really know if parents would really be going in for the stuff that really needs to be addressed. You know what I'm saying? Like the IAs and stuff are trying to elevate these kids, whereas I'd imagine parent volunteers are really just coming into.
Support.
Yeah, if they're just there for support, then I don't think so. But I mean, if there is a parent in there every single day, it wouldn't hurt for them to be able to look at the curriculum ahead of time just to understand it.
Yeah. Want to be respectful of people's time, because we said this was gonna be 4 to 5, and next steps, so we'll take all the notes from this meeting, and there were some really clear action items that I think we are ready to hit the ground running on, and I look forward to those, and then we'll be able to update you on progress on those action items at our next meeting. This committee meets 3 times a year, so our next meeting will be in February and then in April. And I just have to say, I so appreciated all these conversations. I know there's a lot more that we can dig into around these areas, and I really look forward to doing that with you guys. So thank you for your time.
Longer, it's not a good group of people.
I know, I could spend a lot of time with you.
I believe our committee chair.
Yeah,
Sure.
Oh, I have to
Needs to.
gavel it.
Yep, just needed the dates.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so as of 5:06, we can call this adjourned.